Welcome to the New Left podcast. My name is Compton J. I am one of the hosts, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of topics that is already hot on the leftist radar. So we'll be talking about the eviction moratorium, Democrats' response, the situation that happened with Cori Bush. Nina Turner just had her special election, so we'll talk about the election results and what Nina Turner is going to be doing moving forward. We'll also touch upon the Delta variant that is surging right now. And if we have time, we're going to cover the October 15th general strike, and of course, anything and everything Twitter. We'll talk about what's hot on Twitter. So let's bring in our panel for today. We have a very nice panel today. There goes Liv. So we have Austin in the middle with the hat, then Apollo right to his right. And below me, we have a first time on this show on our panel. Angelica, how are you doing?
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. And we have Andrew in the middle. He is one of the co-hosts. And our second co-host is Liv right in the corner. Like I said, we have a very, very good panel. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing I want to do is share a video to kind of sum up chronologically what has happened with the eviction moratorium. So the eviction moratorium expired on the 31st, and the Democrats pretend as if this was something new to them. So let's play this video that kind of sums it up. I think it's a minute or a minute and a half. So let's play that now. Let me share that screen here. Give me 1 second, everybody. All right, so here's the video. There you go.
All right, Crystal, what are you taking a look at today?
Guys, don't fall for the act. Pelosi and Biden want you to sincerely, earnestly believe that they are shocked that the eviction moratorium is expiring, that they had no idea the rental assistance program was in complete shambles, that led to almost no money actually getting to the hands of tenants and landlords. They actually want you to think that they hadn't even noticed the Supreme Court ruling saying that it would probably take an act of Congress to extend the moratorium. Give me a break. Biden and Pelosi have been trading statements back and forth, each calling on the other to act in a choreographed dance of buck passing. First on Thursday, the Biden administration, mere days before the provision's expiration, called on Congress to act. In response, Pelosi took a show vote asking for unanimous consent to extend the moratorium. When that show vote request for unanimous consent failed, she blamed the Republicans and promptly skipped town. Now she's out with a new letter explaining that it's not really on the House to do anything. Really, the White House and the CDC should deal with this teeny tiny problem of 15 million Americans potentially facing eviction. She writes, "It is unfathomable that we would not act to prevent people from being evicted. Overwhelmingly, our members agreed to extend the moratorium and universally to distribute the funds. But the House passing the eviction moratorium without the Senate acting does not extend the moratorium. Instead, the money must flow and the moratorium must be extended by the administration." So long story short, these people knew that this financial cliff was coming. They made an affirmative choice to do nothing and just let potentially millions of Americans lose their homes.
I think that is enough right there. You get the gist of everything. Let's turn this off in my ear. So you get the gist of everything there. Basically, everybody knew that when this was going to end. And at the last minute, when people started to talk about it and they start to hear rumblings about, hey, what's happening? Now everybody wants to act like, oh, we couldn't do anything, and no one was powerful enough to do anything. So that is up until a certain point. So let's go to let's go to Andrew to kind of fill us in on what has happened lately. Just tell us what has the Democrats decided to do in the last 24 to 48 hours since this story that I just played. Can you just bring us up to date on what has happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So since all of this happened,
as many of us know, there were a lot of protests that occurred on the Capitol. Cori Bush in particular played a vital role in this protest where she slept on the steps. I'm not exactly sure if a lot of people joined her or if they just kind of were there for some time keeping her company. That part wasn't exactly clear to me. But either way, this was happening for a couple of days as a result of the eviction moratorium suddenly stopping as Democrats basically said, "Oh my gosh, like it's over," even though Justice Kavanaugh even wrote a month earlier that it's all in the legislation. The moratorium is going to go in a month, right? And so I don't know why they were. Well, I mean, I kind of have ideas of why they were slow to do it, but they're all acting dumbfounded, like this suddenly happened, and this is And so from there, after a couple of days of protesting, Biden said that he would look into extending it with the CDC, although he doesn't think the Supreme Court is going to okay it, and basically passing it along on the House to do so. Biden doesn't, we talked about last week, Biden had no problem bombing Somalia, right? But he's now very much concerned about the Supreme Court and constitutionality when it comes to people. And so that is since that video, I think that video we showed was a couple days ago.
Yes.
So that has been the main things that have happened. And since then, people have been praising Cori Bush because and giving her credit for moving the needle a little bit.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Here we are.
I think that kind of perfectly summarizes like the turn of events since this video that I played. So what I want to kind of go around the table and get everybody's take on sort of the theatrics that the Democrats are playing right now, as if they didn't have any idea this was going to happen. Does anybody think that if this was some of their corporate donors needing some sort of significant help, that they would wait until the last minute and then everybody just kind of go, "Oh, whose fault it is? Whose fault is it?"
Absolutely not.
It only happens when it's something that affects the regular American people. So I'll go around the room. I'm going to start with Angelica first, then we'll go to Austin, then Apollo, I guess AAA. So Angelica, so what do you think about the eviction moratorium, what it looks like the Democrats are going to do, because I don't think it's technically official yet, and just sort of their theatrics about, hey, like the Biden administration, we can't do anything. We don't know if it's legal. What is your reaction to all of this?
The quick answer is to what you said. Do the corporations, would they do this would it be the same if they did this with the corporations? Would they just pussyfoot around? The quick answer is no. I mean, of course they wouldn't. I mean, they got that original COVID money and that original COVID plan at the beginning of the pandemic. Those corporations got that $5 trillion. They got it quickly, and they got the concierge service. So, but when it comes to people, that's how it goes. When it comes to just regular people getting actual relief to regular people, it's we can't do anything, and we'll see what we can do, and just obvious.
No results. Yeah, like it's nothing happens.
Hands are tied. It's somebody else's fault.
Right. So, I mean, I completely agree with you. Let's bring in Austin to the conversation. What do you think about Democrats' theatrics? I'm always very amused by your takes on what the Democrats are doing. So, what's your take on it?
Are you still talking to me, Jay?
No, Austin.
Huh.
Is he frozen?
Oh, I can't tell.
He's really good at being still.
Maybe he's frozen, so hopefully he'll come back. But let's go to Apollo. Then after Apollo, we'll come over to Andrew. Apollo, what is your reaction? Same question about these theatrics from the Democrats, and then just the overall results of what's happening. What's your reaction?
Damn.
Muted.
guys can. Hold on.
You're on mute.
Am I good now?
Good.
Okay, cool. So to the earlier question about like, would they be hesitating this much to act if it was like a corporation and stuff like that? And the answer is, I don't think so. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people know this, but like back in 2020, about a quarter of all the bills that the Federal Reserve has printed in its entire history, about I'm sorry, not a quarter, 20% of them have been printed in the year 2020. So let me repeat that. So 20% of all the bills that have ever been printed in the entirety of U.S. history have been printed in the year 2020. And a majority of that money went towards the CARES Act and like some of the largest upward transfer of wealth in U.S. history. And so, if a corporation or like some of their donors come to the government and say, all right, hey, we need money, the government's going to say, all right, we got you. Don't worry. We'll just print some money. We'll just like, we'll make the peasants pay for it, some shit like that. So, if it was like, if it was the elites that need the money, they got them. Like they don't have to like bribe, like they don't have to like ask the government to, they don't have to like get on their knees to ask the government, basically. As far as like the eviction moratorium goes and Cori Bush, I mean, I was with Cori Bush on I think July 24th, the day of the Medicare for All march. She just came and then she talked for a little bit and then she left without really tweeting about it, without really talking about it. And Medicare for All is an issue that she really cares about. She was much more vocal, and credit to her for being vocal on the issue of the eviction moratorium. But at the end of the day, like this is a very easy stance to be on the right side. Like it's not difficult to say, hey, let's not kick out around 11 to 15 to 20 million people.
Right.
Like I think that, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna concur with what you're saying. It's not hard at all. Like these decisions aren't hard at all. Like they're very, very easy to do. It's just that our government, plays the good victim role that, hey, we can't, nothing can happen. It's all this gridlock when it's kind of just controlled opposition. Let's bring in Andrew, and then we're gonna finish off with or actually no, Austin is back. So we'll go to Andrew, Liv, and then round it off with Austin. So Andrew, same question. What's your reaction to what the Democrats are saying? What's your reaction to Cori Bush, and her sleeping outside on the steps of Congress? What's your reaction to any and all of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in going back as to whether or not the Democrats would be working quickly for corporations or quicker for corporations than they are for people, I would actually argue that right now they are acting on the behalf of corporations. As I always like to say, follow the money, right? And so I think it is extremely important to understand that George Marcus, who is basically a mega landlord who owns several different mega companies, donated $1 million on June 1st to the House Majority PAC, a super PAC that works to elect Democrats. It was 7% of their funding, right? So that is a pretty significant amount. So I think if someone of that stature gives you that much money, your policy is going to revolve around that, right? And I think it's also important that he gave $263,400 to a committee benefiting the DCCC. And he also donated a lot of money to Speaker Pelosi, who happens to be heading of all of this, right? And so this is the reason why they were, as Angelica, I think, pointed out, pussyfooting, right, on this, is because they are serving, that's who they are serving. They are serving the realtors. They are serving the mega donors. To get to your question about Cori Bush,
yes,
I mean, I'm just going to say, like, she slept outside for 2 days, right? Props to her. Like, that's something I don't think I would do, right? So, however, I think the follow-up questions to that is, where were you? How did you not realize this? How are you this late to realizing this? And I think, they are celebrating right now because they pushed everything back for a little while. However, how much of a great opportunity would this be to actually bring up like actual policy, as Liv likes to put out, systemic change, right? None of that is happening. None of that conversation is happening. We are just delaying the problem a little more, right? And I know you talked to Alex Vitae, earlier today. I think that's his name. Vitali, who in his book, I know, in addition to talking about the police, he talks about housing first, right? And how that is an important solution to overcome homelessness and evictions. And so this is what better time than now when people are starting to suddenly wake up and being like, oh, people are being evicted. It's been happening all the time, right? So that's kind of my overall scenario in terms of like, use your power, use your leverage to actually bring about policy change instead of being like, push it back.
Absolutely. Before we get to Liv and Austin, let's see what Joe Biden had to say about the eviction moratorium. Here is Joe Biden. Oh, my bad. Let me restart
Did he lose
that.
his voice?
Let me restart that.
I can just do a voiceover.
Determine what is the best possibility that would come from executive action or the CDC's judgment. What could they do that was most likely to pass muster constitutionally? The bulk of the constitutional scholarship says that it's not likely to pass constitutional muster, number one. But there are several key scholars who think
Great
that
poupon
it may,
ass.
and it's worth the effort. But at present, you could not, the court's already ruled on the present eviction moratorium. So I think what you're going to see, and I want to make it clear. I told you I would not tell the Justice Department or the medical experts or scientists what they should say or do. So I don't want to get ahead. The CDC has to make this. I asked the CDC to go back and consider other options that may be available. You're going to hear from them what those other options are. I have been informed they're about to make a judgment as to potential other options. Whether that option will pass constitutional measure with this administration, I can't tell you.
Bitch, say mustard.
Know. There are a few scholars who say it will, and others who say it's not likely to.
Brilliant.
All right. I think we can probably cut this gibberish short here. And that's just what it was. I thought that was complete gibberish. And he just proceeded to repeat the same thing over and trying to blame it on it's not constitutional. Anytime any neoliberal says anything about unconstitutional, the only question I would have is, what about all the wars that we did? Because all of those are unconstitutional. Are doing. You're right. Correct. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. Are doing and have done. It's so preposterous that, when it comes to helping people, is this constitutional to help these people? Like, is it constitutional to do these things? But when it comes to other things, bombing, sending people all this foreign aid for military things, upping the military budget, all of that is fine. No issues there. So let's go to Liv for your.
I'm sorry, Jay. Okay. Just wanted to make some real 2 points real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Mentioned earlier. Sorry, Liv. Just if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So one thing I want to say was, as far as the squad's authenticity goes, student debt relief is about to expire real quick. So, I mean, if you want to see the squad actually fight on that, they can definitely, voice their concerns on that. So that's one thing. And the other thing is Kamala Harris, literally, there was an article, a pretty recent article which said Kamala Harris is hiring a few BlackRock, like some executives from BlackRock as like advisors, And for those of you guys that don't know, BlackRock has been involved in like buying up cheap real estate, and so they're literally profiting off of this eviction because it just gives them a chance to buy up cheap real estate, and that's for like a whole bunch of like tax deduction reasons and stuff like that. So like if you're invested in if you're gonna profit off of these evictions, how much are you really gonna care about the moratorium expiring? You know, like that's just one question I want to raise.
That is a great point. And then the broader point about why they drug their feet on this is because they're being paid to, because somebody's profiting off of it. So Liv, let's go to Liv, and then Austin. Let's get both of your reactions on the video, anything, all of it. What part that you want to comment on, Liv?
Oh my God, where to start? I don't know. Oh my God. Okay, well, what has been mentioned in the comments, we'll start there. This is performance and performance acts and just a play at just playing out in theater. Grab the popcorn, y'all, like get comfortable because this is the beginning. And as Angelica pointed out, the pussyfooting. Like, I'm so sick of it. But this is what the Democrats do best. And I really don't pay any mind to what anyone in the fraud squad is doing because it's more just performance and incrementalism and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just waiting for the real change that they all like have been, that got them in office in the first place, that they all preach. So I know, guys, a lot of us were fooled by the fraud squad. Like, just like, let's get over that and move on so we can get forward with the revolution and get some real change going. But it's not going to happen if we keep voting for the Democrats. And I mean anyone with a D after their name, just like an R. It's not going to, that change that we are seeking, the change that housing is a human right and that should be accessible and affordable for every single person in our country, that we got to start talking about that now. And that change is not going to happen with the Democrats. They don't give a fuck about us. So stop voting for them. And that's where you hit them hard, in the ballot boxes. That's where it happens. And start with the grassroots organizing and mutual aid in your local organizing and communities. And start with that. And this general strike coming up on October 15th, like, get ready. Like, this is where the change is happening. Like, this is the time to act, and do not buy the performance that the fraud squad, the Democrats, are giving. Obviously, I don't even care what Joe Biden says because it's not even really audible. So, like, I don't care. I don't pay attention. But, yeah, Cori Bush, like, this was the whole show. Like, the Democrats trying to say, we didn't know. And Cori Bush and the squad come in and try to swoop in at the last hour and try and save us all. And, like, guys, look what we did for you. But didn't we know? Isn't the whole thing of a moratorium is that it's going to expire and it was postponed in the first place? So how did we not know when it was going to expire? And now we've just pushed it back further, so it's going to expire again. So we're going to deal with this all over again. So let's start talking about housing as a human right. Let's start having that conversation now.
Right.
Like, this is what that's about.
Right, a broader conversation about that. Yep. Let's go to Austin. What do you think, Austin, about all of this? Any part of it that you want to comment on? Austin.
Austin, you're muted. No, you're frozen.
No, yeah.
Austin.
Let's try that again.
He's loading. Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the next question. And actually, no, I want to play this next tweet. Now, this is Cori Bush herself describing what she's doing, what she wants to do, I should say. Let's bring up that video. So this is Cori Bush calling for a rally. And I think this is a Max Blumenthal tweet here that I'm going to share with you. When Austin gets back, we will definitely put Austin back on. So don't worry about that. Those that are waiting to hear from Austin. All right, so I got the video queued up. Let's share the tweet here. Blumenthal audio. All right, Austin, there you go. I'm gonna put you back in here, and hopefully you'll be working soon. So we'll get back to you and get your response. So this tweet here, or this video that I'm going to play, is Cori Bush calling for a rally, a call to action, pretty much a rally for the eviction moratorium. This is before Joe Biden came out and said that he was going to finally do something. So this is Cori Bush.
And I know that some of you probably heard we're rallying at midnight, like, oh God, so that's when you may feel like you don't have anything left to give. But we still have homes to go to. So even if you are tired, if your feet hurt, your head hurts, if your body is just saying, I need rest, we respect that. We respect getting rest. But for those of you that can push through, 12 o'clock, we're talking about rallying. And that calls for, it calls for a different type of response. It calls for a different type of attitude. Because this is our rally at midnight. Because at midnight, if we're either rallying because something great happened, or we're rallying because the thing that we needed to happen did happen. So, do you all want to rally at midnight?
So that's pretty much Cori Bush's video. Now, I mean, she of course went on and on about just similar themes about rallying for the people. I'm going to go around the room, and I want to find out. Do you think what Cori Bush did is what the catalyst was that to get this, or do you believe that it was maybe just the conversation of it, like meaning people are talking about it, it's trending on Twitter, news organizations are reporting on it. Do you think something inevitably would have happened, or do you think Cori Bush actually, her sleeping in the steps of the Capitol or in Capitol Hill actually produced something? So I'm going to go to Apollo first, then we'll go to Andrew, then Liv. So Apollo, what do you think? Do you think what she did was the catalyst, or do you think kind of like, it was a good gesture, but these things would have happened regardless if she done that?
Muted.
Oh, I'm muted. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm not really too sure exactly how much she contributed to it, but I mean, it is actually difficult to ignore the fact that like 15 million people are about to be homeless. So that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it is that it wasn't just Cori Bush. It was AOC. It was Ayanna Pressley. It was Ilhan Omar, and it was also Elizabeth Warren that were over there trying to stop the eviction moratorium from expiring. So like, I don't think it was, when you have like a bunch of high profile people, like they weren't all necessarily sleeping on the steps of the Capitol, but like they were there. They were bringing attention to it. So I feel like that would have added pressure into a situation that is already difficult to ignore. So I guess it's like a combination of both. They sort of like,
What do you mean? So Cori Bush was the only one that slept there. What did the other ones do? They just showed up for a rally?
They just kind of showed up. But I mean, they did bring attention to it though. Like, so like more people will start paying attention to Cori Bush and like the whole sleeping at the Capitol, at the steps of the Capitol in general. So I feel like they did kind of play off of each other. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, like what the exact factor was. What I will say though is that Donald Trump did extend the eviction moratoriums, and if he did that, it's gonna be a really bad look if Joe Biden doesn't do that.
Right.
So I can see it going either way. To be honest with you, I don't really have a definite answer for you. To be honest,
that's what was weird to me is when he was saying all this. I don't know if it's Constitution. It was like, that was the first thing I thought of. It was like, didn't Donald Trump do this already? So isn't the answer to that question already like we're already beyond that question? And who's gonna bring?
But they bring up like,
who would bring the lawsuit? Yeah, so that's kind of weird. Let's go to Liv. What do you believe? What Cori Bush did was the main catalyst that got Cori Bush and the others, I guess you could say, was the catalyst that kind of got them to finally do something, or do you think just public pressure in general made them do that?
Y'all, okay, I don't mean to get like all conspiracy theory on you, but like, what was the alternative? First, ask yourself, what was the alternative? Were they really gonna let 15 million people go homeless on their watch? No,
Right.
of course not. This was all completely planned. And like, as Apollo mentioned, like BlackRock has been swooping in and buying up a ton of property. So the capitalists have already been playing their game right now. And the Democrats, who are controlled by the capitalists and the 1% and yada, 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 are already being told what to do in the Performance Act to do in order to keep the support of the people and the belief that the Democrats are the party for the people, which they are not. And this is just the performance that I was just talking about. Like, this is just them trying to say, like, we're the squad. We're here for you. We can do all this. We have all this power. I'm sorry. Where's the block vote for Medicare for all? Where's my $2,000 stimulus check? Where's my unemployment? Like, I'm sorry. I haven't seen any real systemic change. Like, this is the conversation for real systemic change to happen. This is just incrementalism and putting Band-Aids on problems. People are still going to be facing the same problem in a few months from now. I do not buy this. And again, the only alternative was millions upon millions of people going homeless. And they were not going to allow that to happen because that will not allow them to keep profiting. So that was not even a question to allow happen. It was, we are going to keep these people dripping just enough blood to keep them alive and working. And we are going to just drain the rest out of them while we can. And do not buy this.
So Liv, you kind of look at it as, I mean, when you think about it, I guess you can look at it this way. Democrats, like them, like when we hear, oh, Joe Biden administration are going to finally do something, the members of Congress heard about what they're going to do days before we hear it. So you're kind of saying maybe the squad kind of knew there was rumblings that the Joe Biden administration was probably going to do something about it, and they were looking into it, and that was it was kind of like a theater, like they kind of knew it was coming. Like, what other option? Like, what other option do they have? Yeah, I get you.
Of course, they were talking.
Can you further explain that? Further, kind of go into what you mean by that.
I wholeheartedly believe that while BlackRock has been coming and swooping in and buying up all of these properties and then renting them and selling them, I believe renting mostly at skyrocketing prices and contributing to gentrification of neighborhoods and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Democrats have been told or are already in cahoots and collaborating with them, saying like, all right, this is the game plan. Like, we are not going to give another stimulus check. We are going to come up with the eviction moratorium that's coming close, and we'll swoop in and save the day. So we've got the squad, and they're still really cool, right? And some people still like them, so we'll keep using them. And now we've got Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman. So, like, let's utilize this. So do not buy it. But this is all constructed and all organized behind the scenes. Like, this is exactly what they want us to believe. And do not buy it.
Yeah, I guess, because you got to look at it like, how many days was she sleeping there? Like, it was just a few days, and you think that amount of pressure is what finally got them to do something when they haven't done something for months. So I can see how you could see it that way. But go ahead. You had a little more to say.
I was just going to say that literally makes me sick. Like, why aren't these people at home sleeping right now? Like, where was this all, like, the time before we extended the moratorium?
Right.
Like, what? This is just a Band-Aid, the incrementalism.
Right.
This is not systemic change. This is not solving the crisis.
That is a great point. We're going to go to Andrew, and then we'll finish off with Angelica. But that is a great point. That why did they take so long? Do you think it's because they weren't going to do anything about it, and then it kind of just fell in or pushed into their lap? And so let's go to Andrew and then Angelica. What do you think about? Do you think what Cori Bush did with sleeping on the steps, and some of her squad comrades? Do you think that was pivotal in getting what we got for the eviction moratorium? Or do you think that it was really no other way for them to do this? What's your thoughts?
So my thoughts are that I think it was a combination of things. Like, I think kind of similar to what Apollo was saying, like, I don't think it was necessarily one thing that did it. I think, when Cori Bush, obviously sleeping on the steps at night, getting 1 hour of sleep, as like they said, that's going to bring some publicity, right? Which is then going to get people to start talking about it, which is going to bring awareness and more people to join, right? And so I think it was the combination of those things that made everyone more aware, because let's face it, if that didn't happen, the media probably would not have the mainstream media probably would not have talked about it at all, right? And so I think in that case, it was to a certain extent. I think the issue, like what I was saying before that I had with this, is that the squad members have a lot of followers on Twitter, right? They have a lot of people who very much are fans of them. They could have easily elevated this a month ago and said, look at this, what's happening, right? Everybody really call your representatives, demand that they do something about this eviction moratorium. They didn't do that, right? And so, I don't know. All I can say is what I know and what I see, right? I don't know what their intentions are. I don't think it honestly matters, because it's the end result that matters, right? The end result, because whether or not you have good intentions or not, the people that are getting evicted are not going to care, right? They're still going to be evicted. And so I think it's more of just, why are you not using your leverage? And maybe it's groupthink. Maybe it's just in terms of like them being a part of such a toxic party that they do not, they get caught up into the groupthink, and that they become passive, that they don't even think about like, oh, this is an issue we need to acknowledge, right? And that's a problem. And I think that obviously brings back, which I know a lot of us have thoughts about, the larger issue in terms of just like, how much change can you really make in the Democratic Party?
Yeah, that is the larger, bigger, I guess, more important question if we're talking about looking at it broadly. And let's go to Angelica. Curious to know what you think about Cori Bush, and whether you think it was basically, theatrics, or was it something genuine, came from a genuine place? And do you think what she did resulted in what is happening, or what the Democrats are saying they're going to do for the eviction moratorium? So, Angelica, you have the floor.
I'll just say I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Cori Bush. I'm not impressed with the rest of the so-called squad. How long did they know that this thing was going to expire? How long did they know this? And Cori Bush reminded me of what she used to be before she was a congressperson. Just someone who would someone that will rally the troops, someone who was a community organizer and got the community together to protest. That's what it looked like she was doing. And I'm like, what's the point of you being in Congress if all you're going to do is show up and lay on the steps and lead these protests? Girl, you could have did that and not been a congressperson, honey. Number one. And then number two, why don't you, and I'm so sick of the squad telling us that we need to organize. We organize. We got y'all in the office. Now do your fucking jobs. Excuse my language, Jay, because I try to keep it professional and I try to keep it classy, because I know you don't really cuss. But do your jobs. And why don't you organize with your fellow Congress member squad, the Progressive Caucus, and everybody else, and quit telling us we need to organize. We organize. We're down here trying to survive a pandemic. That's why we pay y'all the big bucks. You organize with your Progressive Caucus, the squad, and everybody else, and get these votes, these votes to the floor and vote on this stuff. Man, so I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Cori Bush. I'm not impressed with the squad, and I never will be.
Yeah.
So, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and like somebody mentioned before, we have to understand, or anybody who is thinking that these people are going to really do anything, they can only do what the office allows them to do. And if the office is a corrupt office, like, it's not them necessarily. It is them in some cases, but the office is the problem. The system is the problem. In electing one more Democrat who happens to be slightly less, if that's debatable, less disgusting than a Republican, like it's just disheartening. So I completely get that point of view. Austin, are you there, sir? Can you hear us? Is everything working well? Okay, so Austin, we'll
As
go to
working
you.
as well as it can be, I'll say that.
Yeah. So what we were doing, we're
So
talking
yeah,
about
a few things.
Cori Bush. Yeah, go ahead. So take it. What do you think about what Cori Bush is doing? An eviction moratorium, Joe Biden, and Democrats. Give us your whole your rundown about all of that.
Well, to go back a little bit to the beginning, Angelica, and then I believe Andrew hit on a point about that firm Marcus, them real estate boys and girls. Two things. They also gave $77K to the Republican National Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee. They gave $50K to them. But the moratorium itself is still, I believe, is missing about 1.2 million people.
Yes.
Because it's means tested itself, and with that, we have approximately 500,000 unhoused folks in this country, give or take, and all of this could be addressed in one complete thought and vision. But like was pointed out, Pelosi, the lick queen of the Congress, she's sitting there taking the money and stopping progress. Biden, I mean, I doubt he's wiping his ass anymore by himself. And, you got all these young folk in there, these, hats off to them. I mean, yeah, fraud squad, I get that. I do not envy their positions, however. And, I was thinking about Cori Bush and talking a little bit, because I was unhoused a couple times in my life, but she was also unhoused. So, I know she understands the plight. But to go back to Jay's point, where she's at, she's in a system with certain rules that have now constricted her ability to play the game, right? So yes, we need to organize, and we organize to get their asses up there, but maybe we should
Oh no!
I don't think we can hear you.
He's on a roll.
He was.
Yeah, I think you finally froze there. But yeah, he was definitely
try to convince.
There we go. There we go. You kind of faded out there, Austin. But the point you were making was taken very well. So I'm just gonna toss this out, not necessarily going in order. What do we do in 2 months? The eviction moratorium is just being like, what does 60 days do for the issue? You get what I'm saying? Like, what does extending it 60 days do? So I'm just going to throw it out to anybody who wants to talk. We're going to be right back here in 60 days where the Democrats are going to act like they have no idea where this came from. It just landed in their laps on the last day, and then Cori Bush will be out sleeping on the steps again. Like, I don't understand why are you picking 2 months? Why are you not picking 2 years? Why aren't you picking 12 months? Like, why are you picking such a short time frame? So anybody who want to kind of just address all of that, just jump in. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'll just say something real.
I was going to say, in this season, summer 3 of COVID, summer 4 will be here too. There's a 38%. I live in the high county with a 38% vaccination rate in Alabama. You know, this shit is not going nowhere no time soon. It was jacked up in November when it was first identified in 2019. And they just shit their pants since then. You know, there's no, and one of the main issue is such our toxic individualism to the point where your existence allows you to kill other people. That's madness, in a word.
Yeah. Oh, Jay, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, you know, and I think this brings it back to kind of what I alluded to earlier in my frustration of we're only talking about evictions during a pandemic. There's no conversation on the morality of forcing someone to be unhoused to begin with, right? And I think that is what the main problem is, right? If we're just pushing it back a couple months, right, that's empty, right? And so, you know, we need, the next step should be kind of like how we talk about how it's like people, there was organizing, I guess. What's the next step? And I know, you know, Frank Analysis was out there and trying to ask that question. And they were like, we'll get to that later. Well, no, we should get to that now and stop dancing with music. Like we're at a rager, you know? And so I think, you know, again, like we should be talking about, you know, such policies like housing first, right? Which, you know, wherever my fiscal responsibility people are at, I want you to hear this. They cost $23,000 less per consumer per year than a shelter program, right? It's been proven, studies have done that it's cheaper to actually house people and deal with that issue first, and then worry about other necessities that come with that, right? And so again, squad members could be using their power and leverage to actually bring about this policy, even work on trying to pass something like that. We keep tabs on who says no, right? Who's covered by all these, you know, mega corporate landlords and realtors and such who are going to say no, right? But that can then push it forward and at least get this to be mainstream and streamed like Medicare for All has been, where it's like, let's question evictions entirely, not just when there's people sick, right? In 2 months, the Delta variant is coming. The people are going to be more and more people are going to be sick. It's supposed to be more and more contagious, right? So that's kind of where I am with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And who did I have left? Was it Angelica? We were going to, or I think maybe we got everybody. Okay, so Angelica, what say you about? Oh no, this is the question I just kind of posed to everybody. So what say you about the same sort of issue?
Kind of want you to repeat the question.
Well, I mean, I just piggybacking off of what Andrew was saying, but the broader point that I kind of want to make is what's going to happen in 60 days. Like in 60 days, the moratorium is going to be right back here for us to try to, you know, get it passed, and they're going to be, hey, what's the legality of this again? So what I'm saying is, why are they only extending it 60 days? Why is it not, you know, 6 months or 12 months? And somebody was making the point that the Delta variant is here. It's like, it's not going to be gone in 60 days. So, you know, that needs to be extended a lot longer. So what is your reaction to that? Or what is your thoughts on that?
My reaction is, why just a rent moratorium? Why not just why not do a rent, you know, just pay everyone's rent, pay the landlords, pay whoever, and just get rid of that rent debt? Because even if they, extend the moratorium, I mean, what's going to be like? What was it
Right.
going to be 20 months of unpaid rent, or
Right, exactly.
people
So
are already
you're
getting
saying
evicted, though?
you're an advocate for canceling rent,
Yeah,
like
rent
just
cancel. There you go.
cancel
I
it,
couldn't
like
think of my words. It was simple
yeah.
words, and I couldn't think of them.
So
Yes,
you
there you go.
think just
Rent
cancel
cancellation.
rent, because it's like this: if I can't afford it today, how am I going to afford this bill when you add 5,000 more to it 6 months later from now? Like I still can't afford it, and that's because they don't really care about you affording it, because you not affording it is how their donors are going to take that property from you. So that is actually a necessary step, is what I would say. So let's actually move to the next topic. We have spent quite a bit of time on this topic, I know, and we can probably spend another hour on this topic just talking about this. There goes Andrew. There goes Austin. Sorry, you're having a hard time with your internet. So let's talk now about Nina Turner. So Nina Turner had her special election yesterday, and actually, let me have Apollo just kind of give a summary of what has happened. I've been talking enough, so let's give somebody else an opportunity. Just kind of describe, what the stage of events, how we had a special election, who was in it, what was the results, some of the things you've heard. Let's get your comments on it first, Apollo.
Yeah, so this was the special election in Ohio's 11th district, which is D plus 30, which is one of the most Democrat districts in the country. It was Marsha Fudge's old seat. And well, I know a lot of the left is disillusioned by Nina Turner now, but nonetheless, it was still not the best of nights. I mean, you don't want Chantal Brown winning. But basically, what happened was Nina was doing really well up until very recently, and then a whole bunch of big money came in, from outside spending to take it away from Nina Turner at the very last minute. So that was kind of disheartening to see. But this is not to absolve Nina Turner's own campaign flaws, because there were several campaign flaws with Nina Turner. You got to take accountability. Like I do want to see her win. There is another primary in that same district coming up in May 11th, I think. It's like 10 months away because for the 2022 cycle. So if we do want to course correct, we got to acknowledge our own shortcomings and stuff like that. I do strongly believe that. But, she had the fundraising, but there was unfortunately a lot of outside influences that sort of took it away from her at the very last minute. And this parallels very closely to what we saw with Bernie Sanders back in the 2020 primary. We were at our peak right there during the Nevada caucuses. And then, in comes South Carolina, and then Joe Biden gets $100 million in free advertising, and they take it away from us at the last second. It was, we don't need to relive that again. But this was a very similar thing we saw here, but on like a much smaller scale. A lot of pro-Israel spending, a lot of Republican donors, a lot of super PAC contributing to Chantal Brown's victory, and it sucks, but it's the reality, and it's just.
But I have a question. I have a question kind of based off what you're saying. I want to pose to everybody. And that is, I get dark.
Whoa.
Guess you won't know what the question was.
Dark money sucks. Dark money is awful.
Come on, guys, let's keep it going.
Okay.
I was so shocked.
Without the host, this is fun.
You guys have anything to add, though? I don't want to take the whole floor.
I mean,
wow.
I hit the back button instead of the pause button. Sorry about that.
We held down the fort. It's fine.
Yeah.
Dark money is bad.
That was my fault. So my question though to you is, dark money is bad. What does it say about our voting electorate that they can be so easily influenced by a commercial? So for example, like I'm for Medicare for all. There's not a commercial I can see that's going to change my mind of that. So the question I'm asking is, like, our voting electorate, is this impressionable that literally dark money is coming in, and that the ad, when it comes on, it's an attack ad, attack ads is filled with lies, but you're still influenced by it? I just think that is just very weird to me. So I want to go to Andrew first, and then we'll go to Angelica, and then Liv about that particular question. What do you think about that, though? That how does dark money, now we all know dark money, we see it, we know when it's spotted, like how is it that people are still being influenced by these ads that dark money pays for? And again, let's go to, I think I said Andrew first. Andrew, what say you?
Yeah, so basically, and I think I'm actually going to borrow a term that Jordan Sheraton uses from Status Quo. We're at an information warfare, right? I think many people don't really know how dark money influences elections, right? I think many people know that like elections aren't 100% pure, but I think, not a lot of people are as acute into us as to knowing like how much manipulation really goes through it and how limitless it really is, right? Take for example, there was a pamphlet that basically said that Nina Turner voted no on the $15 minimum wage and no for universal health care, when in reality, she voted no for the Democratic platform because it didn't go far left enough, right? And so I think people just are not necessarily aware on just how manipulative it can be. And I think, if you're not looking for it, I think the thing that is really effective about dark money is that the propaganda manages to even get through your head without you even being aware that it is, right? And I think because we are cued into it, because we've done our own research, right? And I'm not trying to say like people are, it's just, this is something that is an interest and passion for us that we really cue in. We are able to see things that others aren't, right? From all the research I have done, ask me like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have had no clue myself, right? And now I'm like, oh, wow, that's what it is, or that's what got me to think about this, right? So I think it's important to also think about how, a lot of people, due to #general strike, being exploited and working long hours, they don't necessarily have time to just sit back and do their own research and think about like, oh, I was told this, where does this come from? Who's funding this, right? So I think it all kind of intersects where it's like, keep everyone busy, keep everybody in survival mode, that they don't necessarily have the time and resources to even really think about that.
And I've said this many times. I've tweeted about it many times. I talked about it with Fiorella from Convo Couch, and suppressing wages is key to this duopoly staying in place. Suppressing wages is key for propaganda to work, because if you get people working, I think I posted something before, for example, where it takes you so many jobs to afford a certain an apartment or 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom. So for example, in California, it's a job, almost 2 jobs to afford I forgot what I was going to say, to afford a place. So what was I just about to say? It was a very good point too. I missed it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have it in just a second. But anyway, I do have another point I want to make, and it was based off a comment that somebody said, and that is, I'm kind of taking this in a different direction too, and that is, why do progressives want to be treated so bad? Like, the Democratic Party is coming after you, and then you want to join them. That's very weird to me. So for example, let me explain what I mean. So with Nina Turner, she's critiqued the Democratic Party. She knows they know what she thinks, and vice versa. But you decide to run as one of them. And then they come after you like with such vitriol and money and dark money, but you want to join them. That is just so like bizarre to me. Like, and you want to join them. And then once you join them, you can't really even fight against them as a legislator. You got to fight against them as a civilian and go to the steps of Congress and do something like that. So I just don't understand the strategy. It doesn't seem like a winning strategy, but can everybody kind of talk to this point, which is progressives running as Democrats, even though the Democrats are viciously and vigorously trying to make sure you do not join their ranks. Let's start with Liv, then we'll go to Angelica, then Apollo, and end it with Andrew. So, Liv, what say you about all of that, or part of that? What part of that you want to comment on?
Well, kind of just what you said before about like the eviction moratorium being now extended 2 months. So, okay, this problem has been just postponed and put on the back burner. Meanwhile, that's just not discussing the whole systemic issues here that we need to discuss, which is what you just brought up, which is livable, which Nick from Fred Hampson says, thriving wages. We don't want livable, we want thriving wages. And as Austin will point out, Austin, what is that wage? Oh, is he not here? Okay,
Oh, yeah,
it's $44. It's $44.12 with all of the inflation that's gone on over the past few years. Not this mere $20. $44 fucking $12. So I am not settling. I'm not settling for this $20 minimum. I'm not gonna talk about that. Like I'm not even gonna open a discussion until we start like at least in the $30 range. And that's just starting out. That's just entry. And that's for everyone. And then we're also talking about housing for all and how that should be a right. And then healthcare for all, and how Medicare for all isn't just enough. We need single payer healthcare for all. And like the fact that we just had the Medicare for all marches and Nina Turner got all that Medicare for all PAC money. And where were you on June 24th, honey? Like, where were you? You didn't show up. You were with AOC campaigning and canvassing. No, you weren't there. So I'm not buying the performance and the theatrics of the Democrats. And then it really makes me sick to my stomach when I watch Cori Bush, who was previously unhoused. And she's talking to all these people trying to say stick with us, rally with us. We're for you. Honey, where's my block vote? Stick for me, vote for me, do your goddamn job. Saying honey, organize and do your goddamn job that we organized and got you in office for. So
right. I want to bring Angelica in on that particular point, because Angelica, you guys are not buying the squad whatsoever. You're not buying Cori Bush whatsoever. You're not buying Nina Turner whatsoever. And I want you, Angelica, to speak to that. Why is it that you're it's just not it's not computing with you at all? It seems like you didn't buy it from day one. And why is that?
Because I've listened to talk about the dark money and talked about Nina. Why do people believe these ads and the dark money and all this? I'm gonna want to tie it back into there. So this is the thing about Nina Turner. We can talk about dark money all day. Nina Turner could have had plenty of money. You saw how Bernie Sanders, he had money. Mm-hmm. He had money to keep going strong. He was going. He won 3 states. We made sure Bernie was flush with cash. And then Obama made that phone call or phone calls, and then it is what it is. But he had plenty of money to do what she needed to do. Nina Turner tanked her own self. Once she decided that she was going to start, it went downhill for me with her when she decided she was going to start running, and then start running as a Dem. She started talking about I'll just pick out one of the things. When she was on Tim Black show, and then she basically told us that we ain't none of her mom and daddy. And I'm like, so we not none of your mom and daddy, but if you get the job, you're getting paid by our tax dollars. You're getting benefits that are paid by a taxpayer. And you actually work for us. And I feel like they get it twisted and think we work for them, as opposed to, because we've been giving them the benefit of the doubt for so long, they think, oh, they owe me. They work for me. No, you work for us, honey. You work for us. And to me, I was like, she's just been everything she said, everything she's tweeted. Like, I'm not doing nothing if I get in there. You can't be mad at the squad that they're not doing nothing and getting attitude with us and people who spent time and money. Honey, girl.
I think it's the celebrity culture.
No,
why
things are kind of
I don't want any of it.
Yeah. So, but let's go to Liv. Liv, go ahead, jump in. I know you had a lot to say there. It looked like you were
Angelica.
But go ahead.
Yes, like I am not buying. Just y'all do not buy this fucking bullshit. Like these theatrics. Like do not buy this. Like once you're a Dem, like you're in that system. You are corrupted. You are manipulated. You are no longer in control of whatever you had intended doing when you planned on initially running, which that has been dissolved when you decided to run with the Democratic Party. And it's just, there's no, something I'm really also passionate about is abolishing police. There is no reforming the police, like there's no reforming the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Absolutely. I was bringing up the next video sort of tweet I want to bring up, and it's Nina Turner talking about the dark money situation. Let me bring it back to the main screen. So talking about the dark money situation. So let me play. Where is it at? Here. Yeah. And this is a Status Quo video, friend of the show, friend of the network. So let's share here. My computer is starting to heat up. So if things move a little slow, you know why. So, but I'm going to share this here. Nina Turner. Right here. Okay. So right here. Let's play this one. Okay. All right. So this video here, I think Andrew, you sent me the long version. I just got the snippet off of Twitter. And it just kind of just the very exact part when she's talking about the dark money. So let me make sure it is queued up here. And
I raised
hang on a second. Let's make it bigger so everybody can see it. All right. This is Nina Turner speaking after she lost her race.
I raised $6 million in this race. I was outperforming every other candidate in this race until that dark money came in. And I've raised more money individually. I think my race is a template for progressives in terms of how we raise that money. We got to get in, earlier. Not necessarily early. This is a special election. We just got to plan a little more. This is not an indictment on our movement. This is an indictment on dark money. Progressives should feel bad because until that evil money came in here, 35 points up. The only way they could have won is for dark money to come in here. We need real campaigns. It is a disservice to.
Yeah, so that was Nina Turner. The mood I got wasn't like she was being sort of messy. That's what they call it in the South. She wasn't really being messy, or like she was just kind of saying, it's dark money, and that's kind of what happened. I think it could be that. I think she could have still won regardless of the dark money if she ran her campaign a little bit differently. There were times where some of the people who have been with her and Bernie Sanders for years have felt as if she turned away from them and began not to tweet the same. Like her tweets wasn't the same. I mean, Bacardi Sellers. When I saw the picture of her and Bacardi Sellers, I just said, I don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, the only thing worse than a Bacardi Sellers picture would have been a Don Lemon, maybe. But I just didn't understand it. So I know I just rambled on, but let's bring in Andrew, and then we'll go to Apollo. We've talked about a lot of stuff. If you want to comment on what I just spoke about, or what Angelica and Liv basically are saying, which is they've never believed in the squad or any of the members. They've always been suspect of them. So Andrew and then Apollo, what are your thoughts on any of all of that part of it? Whatever you want to comment on. Andrew, you're up first.
So I think I'll start out with just in terms of, I think, disappointment in the squad. And I'll say one, I mean, there's been many disappointments I particularly have. I'll mention one specific disappointment, and that is that squad members there's no access. Indie media virtually has no access to them, right? Maybe Rokana will go on Rising, right? But they only go on corporate media now. Let's remember who helped them get elected. It wasn't CNN. It wasn't MSNBC. Certainly wasn't Fox. It wasn't just indie media, but indie media helped elevate them in the first place when corporate media was either ignoring them or making fun of them. And now all they do is go on corporate media, right? So that right there just shows how they have changed, right? Because they are now no longer talking to the same people. They are now in their bubble. And that is what really disappoints me in particular. Now, to get to Nina Turner and talking about dark money, we all saw what happened with Bernie Sanders. We all saw that play out on a national scale. She's now suddenly bringing up, I'm so surprised that dark money came to me. Like, you should have been ready from day one. And I think she even mentioned we didn't start organizing earlier enough. Well, she started organizing and setting her campaign up before Marcia Fudge was even sworn in. So don't give me that. You were either unprepared or completely ignorant to it. And it's great that you're talking about dark money 3 days before the election. You should have been, if you actually wanted to win, on day one, you should have been ready. You should have been building your coalition. You should have been calling out Chantel Brown from the start and saying, she's getting all this money. This is fishy, instead of waiting for Chantel Brown to attack her 1,000 times and lie about her record, right? And so that is one thing where I think there's a lot of conversation. I know we'll get there in terms of talking about whether or not progressives should run, which I don't think Nina Turner should run again. I think if she's serious, she would actually work on this dark money issue and really from the ground actually be involved with that, similar to kind of what Stacey Abrams, what people applauded Stacey Abrams did when it came to getting a voter drive in Georgia. And so I think
she could be very influential in Ohio. And when she lost, that was the first thing I tweeted out. I was like, this could be a good thing for the left, because the left could not really take another co-opted so-called leftist joining the Democratic Party. That would have been to the morale to the left, that would have been a very big blow. And then the other thing is she's way more effective as a civilian, because the chains of being a Democrats are not on you, like you not being able to critique Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden when you're a Democrat. I mean, you see what AOC is doing. You just have a lot more restraint. And now that I do think back on it, I do remember her wasn't sure if she was going to run at first. And her podcast was launching around that time. I think the podcast launched first before she had decided to run. But by that time, I'm sure Shantae Brown had already decided. So let's go to Apollo. What is your response to what Andrew said, or any part of the discussion? What do you have to say?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I do largely agree with what Andrew said, but like as far as what Nina's race goes, there were definitely outside factors and inside factors in Nina's own campaign that she could have worked on to avoid this loss, because she did outrace Chantel Brown 2-1, even though there was outside money influence. But like, I think Nina could have overcome that, because AOC overcome a 10-1 advantage. Cori Bush overcame like a 7-1 advantage or something like that. So I mean, it was possible to outperform this outside money coming in. So you can't absolve Nina Turner of all of her responsibilities when it does come to outside money, because we saw in Bernie's race back in the primary that we were right there after the Nevada primary And in the 4 days or something like that after the South Carolina primary and Super Tuesday, Joe Biden got about $100 million in free advertisement from the media, and that led him to victory on Super Tuesday. And then it was over at that point. So, on one hand, Nina, she was there. She was a co-chair of Bernie's campaign. She saw this happening, and she should have known that this was going to happen, and she had the money to to counter it. But nonetheless, I mean, there were outside factors that did hurt her. For one thing, yesterday was not supposed to be they actually moved the primary. The primary was supposed to be back in March or April, and yesterday was supposed to be the general election, but they changed it so that yesterday was the primary and November 2nd is the general. And draw your own conclusion from this. But when they made that change, before they made that change, Nina and some random fuck nobody was the only other candidate in the race, which Nina was going to steal at that point. But then when they made that change, you saw a whole bunch of former mayors coming in, former state representatives.
Who made that change? Who made that? Do you know? Like the state made the change?
I think special elections are run by state. Yeah, like they have like some state rule, like if it's a vacant by this state, you have until X number of days to have a primary, something like that. I don't know the exact details. It varies from state to state.
This is an example of what
once they did make that change.
No, I was just going to say this is an example of what I mean by we can't beat corrupt people at their own corrupt game. They're running the show.
Absolutely.
Like they're the ones that's running the elections. Why do you think that we're going to win? But continue, Apollo, what you were going to say, sir.
Yeah. So yesterday was supposed to be the general, but they made it so that yesterday was a primary and November 2nd is general. And after they made that change, you see a whole bunch of big name people coming into this race, at least big name in Ohio, in order to, and this is just my conclusion. You guys can draw your own conclusion from that, but I think it was because they wanted to try to take it away from Nina Turner. Ultimately, like
I can see where you get that. It's like we need more time to take down this person. If we let this go ahead way with this unknown person, this Nina Turner is going to get in there and cause all kind of commotion, like wanting Medicare for all and stuff like that. What kind of, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty much what it was. But now let's play Brianna Joy Gray went on. What is she going? She went on to the Rising actually with the other hosts, and she spoke on this topic. And I just want to have all of you here. Let's see here. Have all of you hear what Brianna Joy Gray has to say on this same topic here. So let me.
Because I think these election results are going to tee up.
Hang on a second. I'm going to pause it.
About how.
I'm going to replay it. Don't worry. Just make it bigger here.
Because I think these election results are going to tee up deeper questions that have been percolating about how much a candidate like Senator Turner should continue to try to run within a Democratic Party that will go so far and do so much to try to prevent them from being in office. This was a candidate who was up, 20, 30 points in the polls before this last volley of outside dark, dirty money. And it was a race between two Black candidates, both local candidates, both of whom would ostensibly, from the perspective of a purely identity-based group like the CBC, be for that body. However, you saw the most powerful Democrats in America, and enormous amounts of money, $6 million was spent in this race, by far the most expensive race in this cycle, all because Nina Turner advocates for some basic issues that majorities of Americans want. And if the Democratic Party is going to define itself as a party that will do anything and spend anything and leverage any interest, including right-wing money, against a candidate simply because they support a $15 minimum wage, something that was a basic aspect of the Democratic Party agenda, if they're going to be smeared as anti-Democrat for supporting Medicare for all, something that 88% of Democratic voters support, at what point are we going to continue to run? Are progressives going to continue to run candidates that openly choose to identify with that party?
Wow. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but that's actually one of the points I think we kind of talked about, and she just articulates it a lot better. And that is Like, why are we, when I say we, I'm saying progressives, leftists, I'm using the term loosely to be inclusive. So, like, why are we wanting to join somebody who hates our guts, who hates the things we want to do? I'm going to go to Angelica first. So, like, why is that the case? Angelica, I just want you to get your thoughts on what Breonna Joy Taylor, I keep saying that, Breonna Joy Gray was saying there in the video, and anything else you want to contribute about this same sort of topic there. And Angelica.
I kind of want to tie back to something that Liv said when she, even though this is off the subject, but sort of.
No, go ahead. Do you go ahead?
Liv talked about abolishing the police, defund the police, whatever you want to say. Nina wasn't going for that, number one, because her son is a cop, her husband is a cop. So Nina wasn't even going to go in for defund. She wasn't going to go for that. So there's certain so-called progressive things that she just wasn't going for that anyway, period. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but I don't know. I just feel like yeah, I'm saying any term. I think I kind of lost my train of thought.
No worries.
I can't. The thing you said before that, and I kind of lost my train of thought.
No worries. That happened to me twice today in my interview this morning. But I'm sure you'll get it back. I'll round back to you. We'll go to Andrew, then Liv. Andrew, what say you? Same sort of question. Anything you want to say about it? Part of it, all of it. What's your comments on that?
So I think one thing that's good to bring up, and this is not at all to release any responsibility from Nina Turner, but just to kind of show how leftists running for office are boxed in from the start. The Green Party in Liv, you might know more about this, is not on the ballot in Ohio. So if she wanted to run the Green, to my knowledge, I don't think she even could have. The People's Party, and I remember Nick Brana brought this up on another show, that they did not have the infrastructure ready to run Nina. So I'm not saying that Nina would have run on either of those parties if they were accessible. My guess, honestly, is probably not. But I think it does bring to a sense where when we talk about electoral politics, we want to talk about the effectiveness of electoral politics. Let's talk about how we have no infrastructure right now, or very little in certain states due to a lot of corruption that the Democrats have made sure they don't have on there to even run unless we do independent, right? And so I think it really gets to the point where we really, through direct action and through, protesting and activism, we really need to kind of make sure we change these rules so that it doesn't just rig it so that we got nothing electorally.
And let's go to, I think I said Liv. Yeah, I think I said Liv next. Let's go to you, Liv. What is your reaction to same thing, like any part of it, all of it? What say you, Liv?
Honey's talking about dark money, but you're a Democrat. You are dark money. Like, why? It's just like the paradox. And I was just like, what? Okay.
What do you mean by that? Explain that to our audience. What do you mean by that when you say that?
Sure. So who funds the Democrats? Corporations do. And where do corporations get their money? First off, not just from the government. Let's talk about like the basic economics. Big government, big organizations have worker bees, and those worker bees are all fucking underpaid, have insane outrageous, if any, access to healthcare, and are not getting a livable wage, and the price of rent is skyrocketing, and if you can afford a mortgage, great, good for you. If you're lucky, but like none of this is like happening right now, and we have to address this. And like, so the worker bees the corporations are benefiting from this. Then Jeff Bezos at like the top of the chain, the 1%, when he needs help, he contacts the government and says, hey, I need to be bailed out for the second time. Oh, I didn't tell you I'm also building a super yacht. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll bail you out a second time. Oh, there's an eviction moratorium. We didn't know anything about that. So do not buy these Democrats bullshit games, people. Like, this is all bullshit. Like, all bullshit.
It's all theater.
It's all, like, it's not just, like, oh, there was a little dark money. It's, the Democrats are dark money, just as bad as the Republicans. The corporations, it's all controlled by them. That's all dark money. It's all of it. There's not just a little of it. It's all contaminated. It's once it's there, it contaminates everything.
Right. And I think just the concept, I'm going to take a step back broadly, talk about this. I think the concept of dark money just confirms what the ruling class knows, and that is propaganda works. You get what I'm saying? Like, propaganda, this doesn't work. What do you mean? Television, none of that. People are free to do whatever they want to do. Dark money proves that they don't believe that at all. They understand that propaganda works, and this is why they don't want to have any ties to, and this is why we call it dark money. They don't want to have any ties to who gave this money, because they know it works. They know that. So let's bring in we got Angelica, we got Andrew. Oh, let's bring in Apollo. What is what's your comments about the same topic, part of it, all of it? What do you have to say about anything you want to comment on?
So just like you said, propaganda does work, and unfortunately, decades of propaganda has gotten to people, and third-party voting keeps going lower and lower and lower and lower. You know, third-party voting in 2016 was actually, I think, like I don't think it was 5%. It was slightly shy of 5%. Maybe I forget what it was exactly, but it was higher than what it was in 2020. And, in 2020, it was, I think, 0.6%, something like that.
Yeah.
In 2016, it was higher, and it has been going down. It was like maybe in the double digits back in the 90s. So unfortunately, propaganda does work, and it has told people, oh, you're voting third party, you're just throwing your vote away.
Right.
And if you talk to people in your own life that are not tuned into politics, hey, I'm voting green or voting libertarian or voting whatever, they're gonna stare at you like you're fucking crazy. Like you're throwing your vote away. I mean, like
yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of these Democrats these progressives who despise the Democrat Party run as Democrats, because they, in their mind, it's a path of least resistance. Because I've worked on several campaigns before, including AOC's, which how
are you feeling about that now, Apollo? Thanks, Apollo.
We'll talk about that later. But in their mind, they think that, okay, if I'm running as a Green Party, if I'm running as PLS or whatever, I'm throwing away a good chunk of my voter base, because unfortunately they really are, because a lot of people are propagandized to believe that third party voting is a lost cause, and I hate that. Like, and I say this as someone who's voted third party in the last presidential election and like any election that I can remember, and never plan to vote Democrat again. Like I say this as someone who despises the Democrat Party. Like for them, they view this as a path of least resistance, because they just view this as like throwing votes away if they run as Democrats.
Right.
Nina Turner actually has the name recognition to run as a third party and actually build it up. Would she have won the race if she ran as a third party? I don't think so, but she would have built it up. She would have like gotten at least more people for the party.
She would have
sent a president.
You have to start. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. So let's talk to Liv, since you're involved with the Green Party.
Thanks.
Do you know, or are you aware of the process of, like, do you know why they're not on the ballot in Ohio, for example, or like in any state? It's not really about Ohio. I'm just trying to understand. You apply to be on the ballot and you're denied. Is it a lot of times, is it the Republicans or Democrats that's the ones that's trying to make sure that the Green Party or third parties are not on the ballot?
Yes, exactly. And HR 1 that the Democrats have been promoting is a poison pill bill. And it is especially a poison pill bill for third parties, and especially targeting the Green Party.
Can you kind of explain that, Liv? Can you explain what does the poison pill in that bill do to the Green Party or third parties in general?
it's limiting them from having any ballot access in the first place. It's like giving them like absolutely no platform at all to like, they're basically just like completely obliterating them out of existence, basically, especially from any chance of getting on a ballot. And from that's, you know, the step you need to, if you don't have ballot access, then what's the point?
If you're not one of the multiple choice answers, like people are not going to vote for you. And this is what I said. You can't beat corrupt people at their own corrupt game. They are running the election. A Democrat or Republican runs the election in every state. They are fine with keeping things as a duopoly. So they're going to do, it doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican, do whatever they can to keep that duopoly stronghold in their state. And that's why I said, you're not going to beat them. They make the rules. They run the game. You're not going to beat them on that. Like, so that's why I think that the strategy of joining the Democratic Party is just a flawed strategy. But let's move to one of our last topics, and that is the Delta variant. So what somebody, okay, got a little feedback. So what I want to do is play this video of this person is Dr. Klein, and they're talking about the Delta variant. I'm actually going to play a couple of videos before we talk about, not before, but as we're talking through about this particular topic. So let's bring this up here. You guys,
the dual characteristics of the contagiousness that this virus has.
I'll restart it.
Together with the virulence, its ability to produce disease.
All right, so this is Dr. Klein.
I'm a pediatric infectious disease specialist by training. I have practiced pediatric infectious diseases for more than 35 years. I've worked all over the world. I have studied pandemics and worked with epidemic and pandemic diseases for my entire career. And I have to tell you that I'm as worried about our children today as I have ever been. This virus, the Delta variant of COVID, is every infectious disease specialist and epidemiologist's worst nightmare. I don't think as Americans in our lifetimes we have ever seen an organism that possesses the dual characteristics of the contagiousness that this virus has, together with the virulence, its ability to produce disease. As the governor mentioned, there was a myth that circulated during the first year of the epidemic that children somehow were immune. I think there were people who said children don't get the disease, can't transmit the disease. We know that those were fallacies all along, but particularly now that the Delta variant has emerged, it has become very clear that children are being heavily impacted by this organism and by this pandemic at this point, perhaps more than ever before.
All right, so I'll cut it there. I actually think that was the end of the video. I'm going to play a couple other videos in just a moment, but I did want that to be kind of just set the groundwork for the conversation. Now, what's unique to me about just speaking about the pandemic, when I'm speaking to leftists, it's not a uniform response about the pandemic. There is a segment of leftists who are not down with the vaccinations, or at least the forced vaccinations. There's some people who don't trust, there's some leftists that don't trust the CDC, like they'll say whatever neoliberals want them to say. And then there's some that says, hey, yeah, I have distrust for these government agencies, but I still trust the vaccination. I'm going to get it. So I just wanted to set the groundwork for that, and then go around the table. I'll start with Angelica and then go to Apollo. What's happening where you are about the Delta variant? What's your assessment of mask mandates in these areas that they're saying there's surges? Just anything you want to comment on the Delta variant so far. I'll go to Angelica and then Apollo. So, Angelica, what do you think? What's happening where you are? What do you think about the Delta variant, COVID, vaccinations? Any part you want to discuss? The floor is yours.
I think the same old that you could typically expect from a red state, as far as what my state is doing. You know, a lot of denial, probably, I guess.
What state is that? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What state
I live
are you
in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I live in Tennessee.
Yeah,
So
no, I say that only because, yeah, they are completely against the vaccinations. And what's the name of your governor there?
Bill Lee. He's a businessman like Trump.
Oh, wow.
So you know, people feel like, well, he's a businessman. He's got to be a great politician. Yeah, I know, but okay. So he's a businessman, very rich, wealthy businessman.
So he's not going to be implementing any mask mandates. Has he said that?
Oh no, there's no mask mandate here. Okay, so the kids are going back to school on August. Well, Metro Nashville. So I live in Nashville, in Metro Nashville. Okay. The kids are going back to school in Metro Nashville, which is Davidson County, August 10th, which is next Tuesday. And it is not mandatory for the kids to wear masks. The principal has already said that multiple times in the emails that masks are not mandatory. But it's highly encouraged because there's not a mask mandate. In terms of vaccinations, to me, this is how I feel about it. And I'll be honest with you. And I will be taking no debates or arguments on this from anyone about it. But it is what it is. And I am not anti-vax. I try to make sure I'm up to date on my vaccines, and my daughter is. I have not been vaccinated. I'll just say this. And I don't know if this is going to get a lot of hate tweeting or I don't know what, or, you know,
I don't think so.
I don't know how people are going to see this, but I'm not going to do it with anybody. And I have no plans to get the vaccine. I have no plans to get it for my daughter. My problem with the vaccine is that, first of all, it was the rollout of that thing. The rollout of it was so quick. Like, how do you have a vaccine ready to go in less than a year when every vaccine that I've ever read about that has ever existed up until this point takes years to develop, and it takes years to do trials on this? And what I read and what I found out is that the reason why they're able to get it out there and roll it out so quickly is because this vaccine is what's called an EUA, or emergency use administration, where they're able to just, okay, we're going to get it out there, but it's not licensed by the FDA. And so that's what gave me pause. And then just reading about the side effects. I mean, members and friends have gotten the vaccine. They've gotten it. They haven't been sick, or I don't even think I know anyone who has gotten sick or had any adverse effects from it. But it's just my feeling of how they rolled out this thing. And then just the fact, and people don't really want to talk about this enough. There have been thousands of deaths from this vaccine. And I'm like, let's get that straight. And just the CDC will tell you that if you go to their website, that there's been vaccine so far. And they don't really say that. That doesn't sound like a lot compared to 330 million people in the country. But I'm sorry, that's one person too many.
Who's going to volunteer to be right? Who's going to volunteer to be in that group? Yeah,
I don't want to be my daughter. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll do everything else. I will wear my mask. I'm still quarantining. Let's get that straight. Like, I haven't gone out there and just like, okay, you can't just be a fool. You can't just, well, I'm not doing none of it. I'm not.
Yeah. Right.
Getting the vaccine. I'm not wearing my mask. I'm just partying and doing whatever. No, I'm still pretty much quarantining because I'm still off work due to an injury I sustained. And my daughter's going back to school, but I'm going to make sure that she's as safe as she can be. She's going to wear her double mask. And I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing to not get it.
Right.
Or, not get the vaccine.
I think what I say to people who would hear what you said and say, oh, you just don't know, this is misinformation, you just need to get it, is that people have genuine reservations about this. Like, you can't paper over that. And in particular, just because, you know, in the Black community, there is, and I mean, there's statistics, they've done polling about this. Black people are some of the more skeptical ones about the vaccination. And it's just, I mean, you just can't expect to have treated Black folks the way America has and it not have this sort of reaction, even if it's something legitimate. It's just, you can't have that sort of relationship with Black people and then expect them to believe, you know what I mean? Believe that. So it's
and Jay, I don't mean to cut you off,
yeah,
but
go
can
ahead.
you please talk about the reason? Because I think people say,
yes,
Black people are skeptical of it. Let's talk about the reasons why we're skeptical.
Let's talk about those ethical issues.
Black people were used
medical apartheid
as just like animals.
Yep.
Right.
Since we were enslaved in chattel slavery, one of our uses was to have things be experimented on us. All these procedures, if you think about women, you get your gyno thing where you get the pap smear. They did all this stuff to us. They experimented on us with these things. And so people are like, well, Black people are the most skeptical, and almost like they're trying to make Black people look, oh, well, they're just stupid and ignorant. They should just get no.
They are gaslighting.
You need to know the history of what was done to us.
Yes.
Right. Liv, let's bring you in, Liv. I know you've been wanting to say
what was
something.
done to us. And I mean, Tuskegee experiment is just the latest. The Tuskegee experiment was just the latest and last thing that people have really heard about. But no, it goes all the way back to chattel slavery. We were enslaved. Let's get that straight.
Right. Yeah. So, Liv, what were you going to say about that? Your thoughts?
So let me start by saying I am a public health professional and I love epidemiology so much. I decided to go back to school and get my master's in public health and epidemiology to become an infectious disease epidemiologist, specializing on COVID-19's impact on HIV/AIDS. And wow, honestly, we could not have fucked this up any more than we have. This is just the absolute worst case scenario. And this was totally preventable. And this was a complete mishandling on all different levels. First off, Angelica, you're going like just amazingly off on just the injustices against the African American community committed by medical professionals legally for decades and for centuries. Sorry, my bad. And then not to mention also the against indigenous populations, the forced sterilization, especially of indigenous women, that happened up until the last century, and I'm sure that's still happening in like parts of the world today.
Pockets.
And yes, that's happening. That's like very prevalent. So we need to be talking about these issues, and it's not just like, don't fucking gaslight these communities into saying like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, no, these are legitimate traumatic issues that have been sustained to communities, to populations, and they need to be addressed. And so again, I'm a public health professional, and I'm sure the propaganda also got to me, but I felt like it was my civic duty to, no matter what, like, this vaccine is available, like, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get the booster. I know this is the beginning to a very long journey of eradicating COVID. I'm going to do my part. I still double mask, as Angelica is saying. I still I don't dine out in public, like inside.
You do all the social
I'm doing
distancing.
all my same things. Like, nothing much has changed for me, and not much changed from before COVID. Like, yeah, I'm not going out and partying with my friends or going to brunch, but like, oh God, you know what? Oh, you know what? This is what I would like to say.
Right.
Because
I think. Let me just say this part before you move on. I think if there was just simply an acknowledgement by the government to say, hey, we acknowledge this country has done some very bad things medically on other things, but since this is about medicine, we're saying medically from experiments, we own that. Like, we understand that is going to cause a lot of reservation in African descendants of slaves or American descendants of slaves. That's going to cause. That is true. But this is still true that this vaccination works. That you get what I'm saying? Like you would catch more people, but just simply being upfront and simply acknowledging it. You're not going to get everybody. You're not. Like, you're not going to get everybody. I think Charlemagne the God said it on his. He was like, I'm not getting it. He was like, no, I'm not getting no vaccination. He was like, no. He was like, I was talking to a doctor, and he was like, no, wait. He's like, don't get nothing in the first batch. Like, just wait a while until after they've done a couple of trials and then do it. He was like, yeah, I'm not getting it. So it is pretty prevalent. I would say of the Black people that I know, it will probably be 50-50, like half are vaccinated and half are not. But let's bring in the two gentlemen, Apollo and Andrew. We'll go to Apollo first. What are your thoughts? You're out in New Jersey, Apollo. What's happening with the Delta variant out in New Jersey? And what are your thoughts on everything, the vaccination, about mask mandates? What are your thoughts, Apollo?
So about the vaccine, real quick. I am vaccinated. I got both doses of my Moderna vaccine, and the few days after I got the vaccine, I have been sick. I was sicker than I've ever been in my life. It literally felt like my legs were literally too weak to like carry myself. I couldn't walk for like around 6-7 hours. It was crazy. Like, I had some weird side effects. That being said, I'm seeing a lot of misinformation of what people think this vaccine is, like what it can do versus people think this vaccine does something that it doesn't do. It's not designed to make you immune to the disease. It's designed to just right. Designed to like get you through it safer. But you can still spread the disease even if you're vaccinated. All that shit. So right. I'm seeing people in my personal life going around day to day like, oh, I'm vaccinated. I'm good. I can't do anything. Like I'm everything's back to normal. No, that's not it. So like that's the one thing about vaccines that is really kind of bother me. I do want to like set the record straight. Like, no, if you're vaccinated, you can still spread it. Like that's
it's so weird. It's almost like they shouldn't even call it a vaccine.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like you can get it, you can spread it. Like, what? How is this? It's just something so that you do not die of it. So that you don't die of it.
My father's friend actually is an infectious disease doctor, or was an infectious disease doctor. He got both doses of the vaccine and he died like 2 months ago from the Delta variant.
Oh wow!
Well, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if it's. I don't know if you can call it Delta variant. He went to India, and India is where the Delta variant originated from, and
there's more variants in India than just the Delta. It is the main variant, but there is other ones. So I do understand that maybe it wasn't the Delta. Okay, so I get that.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. But he got whatever 2-3 months ago, whatever the most prevalent variant was in India at the time is what he got, and he died from it, despite being vaccinated. Over here.
I just think that it's just so many unanswered questions. Exactly, and like, just to your point, Apollo, I don't like how they talk about it as if it's been approved for the FDA for like 10 years. That's like, all these things all contribute to people saying, why are you talking about it like it's not experimental? Like, why are you talking about it like it's that's what I mean by that. Like, be honest. Hey, this is experimental. It is not approved by the FDA. But in our clinical trials, this is what we're seeing it does. This is what we're seeing in the hospital. The people that have, like, say all of that, but you're trying to act like it's already there when it's not. That does contribute to some of the skepticism of the vaccination. But go ahead, Apollo, finish whatever thought you had, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, people just even people that are vaccinated, vaccinated quote unquote, like, I think they may pose a bigger threat to society than people who are unvaccinated, because at least they're gonna be quarantined, they're gonna be indoors, they're gonna be taking responsibility.
That's true.
Vaccinated
because go ahead. I think you're going down the same road that I was just about to say. Go ahead.
Right. So if you're vaccinated and you think this vaccine does something that it doesn't do, you're going to be going all over the place, spreading it. Like, And
Right.
you know, we're human beings. We're social creatures. We need to be. We can only be trapped in for so long. So I mean, I'm not trying to like police people for what they want to do. Like if they want to go out.
Right.
But
you're just making the point that a vaccinated person is going to feel more safe not to wear their mask, that go out in public settings more with more people, like a vaccinated person. But what a vaccinated person also does is carry it and can pass it along. And that's the reason why you're saying, like, you know, they could be the ones that's the ones that's contributing to these surges that's going up. Let's bring in Andrew. Andrew, what say you, sir, about the same topic, the Delta variant? What state are you in? I know where you are, but let the audience know what state you're in and how is it going in your state, sir?
Yes, so I'm in Massachusetts, Boston to be specific. And yeah, so I guess I'll come clean. I am vaccinated. I got my vaccine. I haven't been wearing a mask. I've been going out. I've been seeing friends. I've started just kind of living life how it was before the vaccine, knowing that maybe there, you know, I'm kind of just like living in the moment, knowing that maybe in like a month or so we might have to go back to quarantine.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
You're 29. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in that category that I've seen on mainstream media. Young people just cannot stay away from socializing. You're that person. You're that person. Okay. But continue, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think my thoughts, I mean, I do sometimes wear my mask in like a grocery store. And if I see I'm in a space where a lot of people, like I do carry my mask with me just for like, you know, if I need to do it for whatever reason. I think, so I will say in terms of, Massachusetts, I mean, I do see, you know, in the peak of the pandemic, especially in Boston, people were generally good about wearing masks, particularly where I was, right? And I am getting the sense, at least in my circles, that most people are very pro-vaccine, probably more so than me, to be honest, because I think, you know, my thoughts, and I think this is one thing that a lot of the mainstream media and a lot of people just don't understand is nuance, right? And I think we have used people who are pro-vax and anti-vax as just this, we have exploited it as a culture war, right? People love to pick something in a pandemic when we need to be, you know, we need each other more than ever to get people to hate each other, right? And I think that is something that you do. And I think anti-vax is a strong word. And I think we need to understand nuance a little bit. And back to what Angelica said in terms of that, this vaccine was created very quickly. It's not FDA approved. There have been problems with Johnson & Johnson, right? Like we need to just understand this, and saying that and acknowledging that is not anti-vax. It's specifically questioning the creation of this one vaccination. Right. So, and I think if we, you know, if the mainstream media and the, you know, we're willing to at least just break it down and have this conversation instead of using it to weaponize each other, I feel like we would be in a much better place and we'd have a much better understanding of that, right? And that's kind of, I guess, my overall thoughts on it. I got the vaccine because I thought it was the safe thing to do. I do have empathy for people who question it. And I think, you know, I see leftists going at it with each other on Twitter all the time. And that needs to stop. And I think we just need to do a little more listening.
Yeah. I hear everybody. Most of my family is vaccinated. I was thinking my cousins and stuff. Yeah, they had an outbreak. My cousins did. They had an outbreak at some family function, but subsequently to that, they all got vaccinated. Nobody died. Nothing like no serious hospitalizations. But I mean, I kind of agree with what everybody is kind of saying. Like, if you be more honest with the American public, you'll get more people. It's that, let's say that the vaccination is everything they say, but when Dr. Fauci is saying this and that, and then you got Joe Biden doing this and that, that makes people go, why is the need to even do that? That makes me say, now I'm questioning whether what's in that vial you're trying to put in my body. Now I'm questioning that, because there's no need for you not to be upfront with me about this. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's no need. Be truthful. Hey, yes, Dr. Fauci said so-and-so in the beginning, and yes, that was in the email, and yes, you know, blah, blah, blah. I quite frankly think that Dr. Fauci should probably be taken out of the mix just so that there's no more of this back and forth, but he still plays directly in the middle because mainstream media does want this back and forth and have him as to play that role. So, but we are coming to the end of this episode. It has gone by a lot. I don't know if you guys and gals can see how many people are watching. Can you see that? Does it show the eye on your screen or no? The eye with the number? Maybe not. But
no.
Okay, so we've had upwards of 175 people watching at one time.
Thank y'all.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean it's 175 views. It's probably a lot more than that. It just means at one time it got up to 175. And so this has been a great conversation. I want to thank all of you for joining us for this conversation. Angelica, it's been a pleasure. I'm sure everybody would like to see you back on here again or more regularly. Yeah, more regularly. Same thing, Apollo. It's yours, I think, back-to-back weeks. So we'd love to have you on and get your insight. I think you got 2 super chats in a row where somebody was like, "Hey, yeah, we love Apollo. Is that your buddy? Is that your roommate? You told to do that?"
So they they took advantage of that.
Yeah, so that's cool. I think last week they were commenting on you shaving your beard. It was like, what happened to his beard? It's all gone. Did you notice those comments last week, or maybe you didn't?
I did. Yeah, if you saw me turn up a little bit, I was like covering a laughter or something.
Yeah. So what I want to do is go around the room, go around the panel, and just give you an opportunity to tell you what you got coming up. If you're going to be appearing on another podcast, or if you just want to say, hey, this topic means something to me. If you have anything to say, any last point on anything we talked about, this will just be your last opportunity to say whatever you would like to say. I think I'll start with Angelica, then I'll go to Liv, then Andrew, and then Apollo. So, Angelica, what are your last words, last thoughts, last questions? The floor is yours.
I don't have anything coming up. Unless you know of something, Jay. I've just mostly been with your crew.
Yeah.
You invite me. Say it's nice meeting the other members. Jay, I don't mean Compton Jay. I mean the other Jay.
Yeah, Apollo.
I love him to death. We're like Scorpio brother and sister. So we just,
Yes.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, you will definitely be back on, if not next week, if you're available, maybe the week after. We will talk on Twitter and work out something. I think I said, who did I say next? Did I say Liv next? Let's go to Liv. Let's go ladies first. So Liv, what say you? What do you have going on? What's happening with the Green Party? What's happening? What you're organizing? What's going on with you, Liv?
There's a lot of Green Party drama right now, honestly. A lot of drama. There's always drama in politics, though, right? That's politics.
Yes.
But trying to, besides drowning in schoolwork and finishing strong with that, and managing Green Party stuff as new co-chair, we are thinking of trying to start a podcast. I would love to hear what y'all think about that, if you'd be interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're playing with that idea. We're thinking of starting one, and just really to start getting into that grassroots organizing, and definitely planning on being on this podcast every Wednesday night.
Absolutely. And the audience, you already know, I think out of everybody on the panel, you've been on the longest on coming on these shows. So, and you already know the audience loves you. I've seen already several comments in there and about you also today, Angelica. They say you were on fire today. So thank you two. And now let's go to Andrew and then Apollo. And Andrew, anything you got going on? Any comments you want to squeeze in before we're all done?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing that I'm doing outside of this podcast, or I should just say helping out, because I'm not even leading it. I got to give the people credit who are leading it. Kyle Davis in Boston. But when it comes to the March for Medicare for All, we are in the process of drafting a letter to one of the senators who has the power to hold up, state senators who has the power to hold up a Medicare for All bill in the committee. And we're drafting a letter where we're trying to get other organizations, progressive organizations, to sign, and then potentially doing additional action. So I'm really excited to kind of see that and play a part in that, because it's really encouraging that we are continuing to take steps. It wasn't just a march for us. We're being serious, and we're going to get down and we're going to expose the people who are blocking Medicare for All, so that hopefully through direct action we can get something to happen. Because Nina Turner ain't our savior, and she is not going to do it for us. So here we are.
Absolutely. Great.
And here
Great.
podcast, happy to be here. So yeah.
And Apollo, last but not least, what do you have going on? What's your last thoughts on any of the topics or anything you want to say?
So what I've going on is basically, after Nina Turner's race, I do think that like a lot of people might be disillusioned by electoral politics, but you just gotta keep going through. Like, if you're done with electoral politics, I don't blame you, but at the same time, I don't. I'm someone that prefers like an all of the above approach. If you want to do electoral, if you want to do mutual aid, if you want to do general strikes or whatever, and stuff like that. But on Twitter, I've been focusing a lot more on electoral politics, because it's just that's, I think, one of the easier things to focus on as far as like effectiveness goes. So the one thing I did want to promote was that I am part of a few groups that do boost a lot of leftist candidates, and they're legit lefties that have been thoroughly vetted. And I don't think turning off from electoral politics is an option, because like that's exactly what the establishment wants. They want you to be demoralized. They want you to turn away, because that just makes it easier for the centrists to win. The lower the voter turnout, the lower the voter, the participation, the more likely it is that the established candidate wins. So I feel like in that sense, they do want you to be turned off from it, which I don't know. I personally do try to like be more involved in it. And, so I am involved in like a few groups that do boost electoral, like a lot of leftist candidates. So if you're interested in that, if that is something that like, that you do think is worthwhile, putting some time into, you can always DM me. My @ is @real CEO of Antifa. I run it with a few friends. We got a few hashtags to boost in the past, including Booker beats Mitch and Pelosi must go. So like it does have an impact as far as fundraising goes. But if that's something that's in your lane, then yeah, we would love to have you. So that's one thing I want to boost.
Yeah, I agree with you. The strategy has to be multifaceted. So I think that electoral politics has a place, or participating in it does have a place, but you can't look at electoral politics as the thing that's solving all problems. It's just one of the things you're doing. It's like, okay, the system is corrupt, voting is kind of suspect, but this is our strategy for that part, as we're over here working these things over here. Kind of, you know what I mean? Like you're not putting all your eggs in a basket, but you're not straying away from it. You're still kind of in there. So I absolutely agree.
Sorry, the one thing I do want to say was it's not just candidates that we boosted. We boosted the Medicare for All march extensively.
Absolutely, yes.
We're also boosting a lot of mutual aid coming up, which a lot of people could definitely use right now. So it's not just candidates, and even if it is candidates, it's not just Democrats. A lot of third-party candidates as well. So
yes, I did see that. Yeah.
We're trying to amalgamate all of the above approaches into just getting the change that we want. And if that is something that interests you, if you want to be a part of these hashtag boosts, would love to have you. You can always DM me.
Awesome. All right. So I think we have come to the end of our show. Join us next Wednesday, same time, 7:30 Eastern. We'll be right back here. And every Wednesday, the New Left podcast. That's who we are. And we're going to be signing off right here. So I'll give everybody a chance to say bye. Thank you guys for joining. And
take care.
Talk to you.